Hey, this is Dawn of the New Era, and today we're going to chat about an aspect of emotional intelligence called empathy blocking. It's probably one of the most important things we can begin to do as friends, family members, community members in this world. People are craving so deeply to be seen and heard and witnessed. And unfortunately, our traditional forms of communication do not nurture that at all. I'll give an example of my own life going through hard things. I know a lot of times I hear, well, it could be worse. Or, oh, I know how you feel. I would recommend when someone opens their heart to you and shares, and ideally in emotional intelligence, we want to ask for consent first. So me and my friends, we've already started to say, hey, are you in a space for me to share? Do you have the time and energy and the resources for me to share something heavy or a longer story or what's going on with me? So first asking consent when you're doing deep listening, and then checking in with empathy blockers before you speak back. So when we're doing deep listening, just know that we live in a fix-it culture. This is actually a portion from my book of the Goddess Codes of Conduct. We live in a society that is uncomfortable witnessing emotions, anger, and grief. Sometimes even extreme joy can be painful when we haven't let ourselves be fully happy. When others share in a group, they want to be, or individually, they want to be fully witnessed without judgment. So deep listening is the medicine or the alchemical fix of this epidemic of empathy blocking and judgment that we have in our society right now. So when people are expressing and healing and releasing, they do this from us fully witnessing through the heart. How many times have you shared a story from your heart? And when your friend shares a story quickly back, even before maybe you're finished, we all do it. In nonviolent communication or NVC, we call this empathy blocking. Everyone is just so desperate to be witnessed, right? And we can do this for ourselves too. We can really check in and listen to ourselves. So going over some of the different empathy blockers, like I said, there's advising. Maybe ask after a person shares with you, can I recommend something? Or educating. A lot of us are natural wisdom keepers and educating, and we want to just skip the empathy process of deep listening and go into, this can turn into a positive experience. This is all you have to do. There's a little bit darker empathy blockers, like one-upping. Luckily, I have no friends that do this anymore, but one-upping. You think that's bad? Let me tell you about what's going on with me. Or minimizing what people are going through. This isn't so important. This will pass. This too shall pass. Just do not say that to anyone who's suffering. Do not say that. I know you mean well. Some people like to diagnose, well, this is your problem. You're a compulsive worrier. I can see it. Or you're doing this wrong. And then a lot of times in the spiritual community, we get a lot of analyzing, right? Well, that's because you're this sign, or you're this personality type, or what's your numerology? Just don't ask. What I'm speaking to today is when someone really needs witnessed and heard. And there are times where these are questioning and helping and comparing, that there might be a time and place for these, but what I wanted to introduce to you today is deep, compassionate listening. And so many people need that, right? So the first thing is we're going to take out what they're saying is right or wrong. We're going to immediately, when we're listening, we're often looking and viewing through the eyes of judgment. Well, that was right, that was wrong. Instead, could you say in your questioning, like, I wonder why, or putting themselves in their shoes. That's true empathetic listening. Like, wow, what would that be like? Then maybe you would know, maybe you wouldn't know. But when someone is sharing deeply with you, can you just hold space and listen? Afterwards, take a breath, look into their eyes, and repeat back a lot of what you just heard. I think what I hear you saying is a wonderful way to segue after someone shares something difficult with you or something from their heart. And if it feels appropriate, you could ask questions like, not interrogating, but like, I'm wondering if this is what you could be needing. I'm wondering if there's some way I could support you, or I'm wondering if questions are great as well. Sacred pauses, eye contact, those are beautiful things to do when you're deeply listening to a loved one or in sacred circle. The goal of emotional intelligence and to begin to interact with each other in new ways, right? There's going to be times like, oh my gosh, specifically now that we're through, like we're in the 2020s, right? And there's such polarity differences. One person's far left, one person's far right. What if we use this modality in those situations where we're confronted with someone, even in small conversation or small talk, with something that's totally different than what we're aligned with? I'm thinking like family dinners, celebrations, holidays, there's always that dynamic happening. So rather than disconnecting or hiding, if you truly want to stay connected with people and resolve things, you can ask questions. You can repeat back what they said. Does not mean that you validate or believe in what they're saying if you just repeat back what someone says. Doesn't mean that you agree, but it is a level of validation. It lets them be heard. And in general, when people have been seen and heard, there's more peace, there's more, their cup is filled, and yeah, there's just more peace in general in our relationships and communities. And there will be more peace in the world when we stop looking through the eyes of judgment and we stop using these empathy blockers and we listen deeply with our hearts.
Want more? Become a member today. For $25 a month, you'll receive exclusive content and access to our online library full of classes to take anytime, anywhere.